Welcome to episode number 3, Stride Celly. I'm with the owner, Tony DeHart here. What's up, Tony D?
Not too much, man. How are you?
I'm good. So today we're going to pick up where you and Nick left off. And it's your story kind of rising the ranks at, what were you, 16, 17?
Yep, I think we're on year 2.
Year 2
Yeah.
in the OHL with the London Knights.
Correct.
So what do you last remember from your last talk with Nick?
I remember us kind of just talking a little bit about what it takes to climb the ladder and how to, from being maybe spot 6 to 8 in the lineup sheet, how do you climb, to maybe get in the top 4 or things in that nature.
And that was dog eat dog, right?
Every day.
In practice?
In practice, games, it is a business. Once you get to the junior level, like, you were there for a reason, and these organizations are there to win hockey games, and they're going to go with their best lineup every day, and they make it extremely competitive with their personnel.
Is the culture crazy?
No, everyone's there for the same goal, and that goal is to win a championship. Everybody wants for the team to succeed. And you put them in an environment where if you're the top point guy, there's always going to be the skill guys are going to want to compete with each other on that end. But you still got to be a great team player. So it's tough. You want to attain the same goal, which is to win hockey games, but you also want to have your own personal goals as well.
You mentioned the skill guys. Are there different kind of pillars of players, like, the grinders and the.
Absolutely. That's why it's funny. I'll talk to parents on all different age groups, and they'll be like, man, my kid's better than this guy. He had more points, or he had more goals or assists or whatnot. And it's like, yeah, but is that right? Do you want just a bunch of skill guys on your team? Right? You look at the Toronto Maple Leafs right now, and even though on paper sometimes they have an all-star team, and that's why you see these all-star games, what they are, guys have certain roles. Yes, you're going to have a couple different guys who their job is to produce goals. That's their job. Of course, everyone wants to, on the outside looking in, that's the most fun job. But then from there on, you get, what does the role of a second line guy look like? What does a role of a third line guy? And in fourth lines, usually, the guys are in and out of your lineup. Those are the guys that are sticking up for their teammates, just being good locker room guys, policing the game, if you will.
The grinders.
Making sure that if one of our skill guys gets touched or messed with or whatnot, there's going to be consequences.
And when you were coming up, so you're 16, 17 years old at this time. You're still young.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're already getting kind of groomed for one of these roles, right? And you were playing D?
Yes, I was playing D.
So you were shooting for one of those top 4 spots.
That's always the goal, because that's when you kind of feel safe of playing in the games more consistently. I was very much realistic, where I knew I was going to be in and out of the lineup because that's what they told me. But of course, you got to believe in yourself at the end of the day, and you got to look at some guys and, man, I'm going to steal his job. I think I can do a better job this way, or how can I beat this guy out of a spot? Or, it's not like you're watching a game where you're sitting out and you don't want your teammate to just have a bad game. You want to be able to earn that spot. That was my approach, at least.
And all right, so now we're in your second year there. Is that kind of like how many years are guys there usually? Is it kind of like a 4-year program, or
usually I would say 4 or lower. I was what's called an under-over, which is not something to brag about. I was a underager, and then I was also an overager. So within the junior system, they were allowed to take 3 16-year-olds, and then you can take 3 20-year-olds. Usually, if you enter the league at 16, you're more than likely going to exit the league and play pro at 19. So I did my under-over.
Got it.
So I did a 5-year.
So you were there 5 years?
5 years. Not in the same spot. I was in London for 2.5 years, maybe 2.25, and then I got traded to Oshawa, and that was awesome for me.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Why was it better?
I think just where the team was, it was a shot of me developing more. Like London is a very attractive place to play, and Oshawa is too. Like they are very centrally located, but I mean, I just thought it was time for London, with it always being a powerhouse, and a lot of guys would get drafted. And back when I played, you still had to figure out if you wanted to go the NCAA route or the major junior route. So there's a lot of guys that you see get drafted high in the NHL draft, and they might be playing a college schedule, which was only, I think, 30 to 35 games at a time. A lot of times I think their team would direct them to play more of a pro-orientated style, and that, to me, that's major junior, because they play 68 games and then they have playoffs. It is more of a business, like I talked to you about. You can fight in the NHL or the OHL. It was just more pro-orientated, in my opinion.
Got it.
Now, obviously, college system is a very good NHL factory as well.
And so, as you move forward, so you were in the O for 5 years.
Yes.
And we're kind of moving a little fast here. What happens next after those 5 years? Everyone thinks that if you go play major junior that your college eligibility is just like done or whatever. They do have a fine school package where you could either quit hockey and maybe go back to school in the States. You just can't play NCAA. There's a Canadian university system that's a really good place that a lot of guys go in that direction too, so that was an option. But all that's changed, right?
All that has just changed this year, correct. Where now you can, I think with the college nil money, you can now play major junior and then go to college afterwards, where before you would have to pick one or the other.
And what was your story? So you were in the O for 5 years.
Yes, and luckily enough, I was able to get drafted to the NHL.
And that was year 5?
That was year 4.
Okay.
So I went actually 2 years later than I was supposed to.
Got it.
So,
why do you think that
uncommon. I just got an opportunity to really prove myself that I could climb my way in a lineup and be a top guy on a team. So when I was in London, you go in there as a young guy, and you could argue maybe I did go a little bit younger. I don't have a crystal ball or like a time machine. I would love to go back. Like everyone always asks me if I could go back and do the college thing, would that be a better route? Yeah, it would be fun, but I would do it all over again. I think looking back at it, I think I would start in Oshawa and then maybe try to do that in reverse and get traded to London towards the end.
Why is that?
I had a lot more, I think, on a development system for where I was personally. The coaching staff, organization itself, they gave me a longer leash on one of the past times we spoke, London, it was always like, hey, you're only going to get X amount of time. When you're out there, we don't want you to be a liability to the team, so we want you to play it safe. And you do what's best for your team. So I mentioned the high flip clip. At a certain point, you want to be able to make plays. Now, in London, I was only on the ice for third or fourth line, so there's not a lot of again, that's where it goes back into the role thing. So when you're on the third or fourth line, your job is to keep it simple. The first, second line is where you want to be creative. Now, the new wave of game, I feel like it is a lot more creative. But to answer your question, when I did get traded to Oshawa, I was encouraged to make more plays. I was encouraged to be more creative, and I think it was one of those things where, just building that confidence. It's amazing what confidence will do to a player or to a person in any profession.
Who was that coach?
His name's Chris DiPiero and Rich Ritchie. The ownership there is Rocco Tullio. I mean, if it wasn't for a guy like him, I think the ownership, like he is what he's doing with that team. I believe he now owns part of the Ottawa Senators. Just an amazing human being. He was really, really great with all the staff and all the players. Like, I can't say enough about him.
Really?
Yes.
Which, I mean, not to make you pick, but it sounds like Oshawa was a better experience in London.
I think it just was for me. And again, I got older. I got to enjoy it more. I was a bigger impact on the team. I just had they were both great. I had two. I was very fortunate to play with two really good organizations. You look at the history of the London Knights, and then you look at the history of the Oshawa Generals. Bobby Orr played there, Eric Lindros, John Tavares, some of these guys that I was able to play with John. And it just, you look at the history of the Knights. You had Patrick Kane, Brendan Shanahan, those kind of guys, Dino Ciccarelli. It just you look at who has come out of there, and like I said, two now I would argue that both just NHL factories.
Wow.
And I think with London being the powerhouse they were at the time, I think when you're an older guy, that if you could be in that top four, that would be amazing. But again, I learned so much in London, and just what it takes to going from, again, AAA, where maybe you think you're a skill guy, and all of a sudden you're at the low end of the totem pole when you make that step to junior. That's a huge, significant gap there. And just, again, learning all aspects of the game. So
when you say learning all aspects of the game, what do you mean?
I just think from, again, going from those different roles.
So let's rewind to year 2. So it's year 2 in the O with London. You get your first full year under your belt. Mm-hmm. Then what happens?
So the first year, you're just happy to be there. You're kind of getting your feet wet a little bit with the league and the team, and how and just a whole different environment. You go from just having parents in the stands to 10,000, 12,000 people in the stands every night, being a big deal in the city. I grew up really fast. Second year, again, I wanted to have that edge, but again, London being the team it is, they got to better their team, so they would trade for older guys, and then they get some European guys that had a bunch of interest. There would be a lot of interest in the draft, NHL draft, where they would have guys that were maybe playing in the USHL or the NAHL that was ready to make the jump over, and then there was either guys playing college hockey that decided that they wanted to risk their NCAA scholarships to come play for London. So again, it's tough to fight for that spot.
And so now it's year 2, and with year 2, are you feeling more comfortable? Are you growing within the organization? Where you at?
You show up to camp and you're like, you think that it's automatically going to be maybe in the back of your head, you have a slight advantage, but that was not the case. And year 2 was my draft year, NHL draft year. So that's me 17 years old or whatnot. So I remember just going to camp, having an okay camp, and then you kind of you're looking at these guys and you're like, man, this is, I'm kind of in the same position again. So luckily enough, just competed hard, and I remember having a decent preseason. A lot of guys that were in London or in the OHL, they were either drafted by NHL teams at the time, or there was, they do free agent camps for a lot of guys. So a lot of the team was going to rookie camps. So I had a very good opportunity to play in that top 4 role during preseason. And I thought I did a good job of that. But then when those guys get cut from the NHL teams or whatnot, and they were putting on that, it's hard to beat those guys' spots, right? Being bigger, older, stronger, more experience. So again, just trying to figure out how I could be relevant to the team and take one of those guys' spots.
So in preseason, you're playing top 4. Then regular season, you're in the bottom 4. Did they have?
Absolutely. I was either 5, 6, 7, 8. I'd say really 5 to 8.
Really?
You know what I mean?
So when you're playing that line, how many minutes are you getting a night? 8 minutes, something like that?
Yeah, you'd be lucky to get 8. Yes.
Got it. So not very many.
Depending on the game too.
Sure.
If you're hot or I think the score too, right? Like if the game gets run up or whatnot, you know, you're gonna be able to get more of a rotation. But if it was a tight game, or if you're down, you're not seeing that much ice.
So now, you mentioned that year 2 was the year you got drafted.
It was not. No, that would have been my NHL draft year.
That you were eligible.
That I was eligible.
Got it.
So, for example, like that year was 2008. I didn't get drafted till 2010. Very uncommon, but being in the league and having teammates that were on the central scouting list and whatnot. So at end of the year, went through the season. It was very similar to my first year. Played about maybe 55, maybe 60% of the games. Didn't get much ice time, scratching and clawing. So it's just like, man, okay, I figured I wouldn't get drafted, but luckily the draft was in Ottawa that year, and there was a couple teammates of mine that were potentially get ranked for going to the draft. So
anybody we know?
Yeah. So our good buddy Phil McRae, it was his year. He was a highly touted to be in the top maybe 30 to 40 spots, and yeah, he was one of the first picks, I believe, right after Jake Allen in the NHL draft to the St. Louis Blues, and that was really special. It was really cool to see. That was the year, you know, Steven Stamkos, Doughty, Pietrangelo, Bogosian, Shen, Luke Shen, I believe, got drafted, and just being able to experience that was really cool. Because you look at a lot of guys that you maybe, like, I got to play against, and that was always fun for me, being a challenge. But like, I just remember the Europeans, the way that they kind of the way that when they get that draft jersey was so cool to me, because they hold it up and then they flip it and their name was on the back. I just thought, man, how cool that must be. So, you know, thinking that my window was closed for the draft, my next goal, you always try to set goals, right? I was always a big goal setter in a way. So I was like, okay, like, now it's like, well, how can I get invited to an NHL camp? So that was my next kind of goal, rolling into year 3.
This is 2008.
Yes.
Going into 2009.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, of course, like, you know, got to experience the draft, got to, you know, celebrate with friends and other teammates and maybe guys that you played against that you see crossing paths or whatever like that. Getting experience, that was really cool. But then when the right after the draft is when they have the rookie camps. And being a local kid from St. Louis playing in the OHL, I did get a little bit of exposure there, and having guys like Al McInnes and Basil kind of like and some of the alumni in the background. The St. Louis Blues were very good to me and asked me to go to the rookie camp. So that was huge for me, and that was a big confidence booster for me. And getting a taste of that was very special for me, and kind of drove that confidence back up. That, like, man, like that window's not all the way closed yet.
What was that like with the 2009 St. Louis Blues rookie camp?
It was awesome. That was Oshie, Berglund, and Pron's first year. So getting to see those guys do their thing was really cool. You know, I was super excited, but also super nervous. You know, it was Alex Pietrangelo's first year. I believe he only played 10 games that year, but I mean, I remember he had mono that first year in camp. But you know, Phil was a second round pick, so just being able to be at camp with him was really cool. I want to say Eric Johnson might have been hurt that year, but he might have participated. They did have a couple, like, I remember Roman Polak would be out there, Lars Eller. They did have some Ryan Reeves. They had a few guys like that were kind of climbing their way up in the system. A lot of bubble guys in the American League, is you see a lot of just different cultures. I think that was really cool to me too. It's really cool seeing the different styles of different players from all other countries. And then just being a diehard Blues fan, they had it down at Enterprise Center, and that was really cool for me. Just like, man, that was like a dream come true for me. Being able to have your own stall, you get your swag, you get to be able to wear that blue note was extremely special to me.
How'd you perform?
Luckily enough, with me being pretty much a professional bag skater, I did well because they really trained hard. I remember I did okay. I think I gripped the stick a little bit too hard. I was a little nervous on the gameplay itself. And with me just flipping the puck, that's not much that's not really, even though that's a skill, that's not a skill that they were looking for. You kind of got to separate yourself knowing what I know now. I should have been a little bit more confident and tried to make more plays and stuff like that. But I mean, I remember they did, at school they make you do the beep test. I don't know if like the pacer test, if you will. And I remember being able to do that. And I came in second place right behind Lars Eller. And that was pretty cool. I did get some love from the brass after that, but you got to be a little bit better than just a bag skater.
When you say you're a professional bag skater, you just were in really good shape?
Yes, I being a bubble player in London, they really test you mentally and physically. And I know we kind of spoke about this before, but when you're kind of in and out of lineup like that, being a younger guy, they want to make sure that you have the legs when you're ready to go. And they want you to, I think a little bit on it is on a psychological standpoint is they want you to not be okay with where you're at in the depth chart. So they want you to continue to push the guys up top too. And I respect that.
Let's talk about that. Because your body goes into fight or flight mode, right? Mm-hmm. How did you power through that to become, excellent at stuff that's not fun?
I think you have it on the mind, and it comes back to the drive. Like, I love the game. You get to a point, where, kind of when you're working out and you start to see the gains, like I just remember, like, it all comes down to the mental side. Once you're feeling that burn, you're feeling that lactic acid build up. You just want to give it more than the other guy. And I would always think of maybe 2 or 3 guys that I like, even though they weren't bag skating with me, that I knew that they were going to play the next game. I would kind of like just pretend like, okay, like I'm competing against you right now in this moment. Are you just going to quit and give up, or are you just going to keep going? And that's how I would do it. And I just, even the guys that were out there, you're also competing against them. So just, I kind of enjoyed the burn, as weird as that sound. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the test to a certain degree. It does catch up with you, but I wanted to show the coaches that I was there for a reason, and I wanted to show them that I love the game and I wanted to play the game. So it turned into something where I kind of created that muscle memory from it because I was doing it so much. But I also wanted to just show them that I still had positive spirits. You're not going to break me if that's what your goal was. And I think that's a little bit of it too. I think you get a lot of kids that come in at that AAA or college level and they think that they're going to be in the same role. That's not the case. So they do test you mentally as well.
How do they test you mentally?
I think just with that, like how they like when you're not the role that you think you are, simplifying your game, trying to humble your game, humbling yourself. You might be the guy from where you came from, but like not here, man. You're in a different ball field. You know what I mean?
Paint us a picture of what that intense training looks like.
Yeah, so like I think I went over this in one of our last talks where in London and even in Oshawa and even at the pro level, like you usually have your normal skate. And then afterwards, like if you're not playing or more of a bubble guy, you either need to stay out and show that you're working on your craft to get better, so that coaches do see that. Or they would bring in another guy, or a current coach would stay out there and say, hey, we're going to work on this today, whether it be conditioning, whether it be, passing, chipping the pucks off the wall, fighting, all different types of different skills, if you will.
No, you're good with the whole bag skating and just being in shape and the kind of the mental fortitude that goes with it. It sounds intense.
Yeah, so after the bag skate, though, then you were kind of required to work out. Or I talked about the 500-calorie bike ride. So it's just one thing after another. They really are. They want you to get that strength, and there's just a lot that goes into it.
With just to switch gears for a quick second, it seems like Quinn Hughes is just in probably the best shape. Maybe not number one in the league, but he's definitely up there playing. What did he play, like 40 minutes a night?
Yeah.
What do you think? You think he's doing these types of things?
I think guys like that, there are some guys that are just naturally
freaks.
and I would say he's one of them. He's probably been a guy that has never had to experience being in that fifth or sixth role. So like those are those special players that you talked about, that we talk about. Yeah, some guys, and that's why I say about kind of like the youth level is like, I think a lot of parents, they focus on their kid, being the best, and their definition of being the best is, okay, my kid scored X amount of goals, X amount of assists. There's so many different aspects of the game that is like for me would be successful.
And when you talk about your love for the game meant you were willing to be whatever it took to be on that squad.
I just wanted to play. Yeah, I wanted to play, but then you get to a certain point where you're going to play every game. Now I want to produce, and that's where when I was able to get traded to Oshawa, that's where it's just that little stepping stone, right?
So you did the St. Louis Blues rookie camp.
Mm-hmm.
That was 2009.
Yep.
Was it that summer that you got traded to Oshawa?
Yeah, so they had the first rookie camp. They had different layers of camps. They did an in-town one right after the draft. And then from there, they had another camp, which was in Traverse City, Michigan, which was really fun. And I was lucky enough to make that team as well. Awesome experience. They bring you in, you do a couple days on the ice, and then you get to fly private to Traverse City, which was really nice. And basically, it was, I don't know how many teams went, but there's essentially, let's say 8 to 10 different organizations that enter their team in this kind of showcase. And the whole stands is all management. So like all the big dogs you see on TV, all the GMs, all the coaches, a bunch of agents. So that's when I got some exposure, and that's when I first started getting interest from agencies. And then just hearing, hearing the agents kind of give their pitch and what they feel like is best for you. I loved London, but again, I don't think it was best for my development at that time. So it was time for me to be there, for my journey to probably switch gears a little bit for a new setting, a new environment. And kind of like a new start, if you will.
Did you request a trade?
I did. Once you get to a certain point, after that second year, then again, I remember John Carlson coming in as a D. That's going to be a tough one to beat out. You got they traded for another older guy. There was a really good European guy. So it's just like, man, it's hard to get that spot. So I went in. I remember, man, this is one of the toughest. I just remember that story. Oh man, I remember going into Mark Hunter's office and requesting a trade, and oh man, he just blasted me. And I spoke very highly of the organization and said all the right things, which I was true. I loved the guys, loved the staff. Everyone was good to me. Loved my billet, and just asked him for a trade. And oh man, he's just like, are you kidding me? Like, I'll put you on the wire, but no one's going to freaking want you. Like, you suck. You know what I mean? And it's just like, and it just, you eat that, you take that criticism, and, because he would always ask, how you think you did at preseason. And no matter how well you think you did, he's just one of those guys that give you tough love. And I respected it. Like, I'm sure a lot of it was truth, because like you look at the guys that they've produced and where their expectation was. I just don't think I was in that. And like it was a experience I'll never forget. That was the first time I just felt like, again, I was kind of like a 18-year-old kid requesting this, and I just kind of felt like the walls are coming in. But afterwards, that was a personal growth level for me, because I was a pretty shy kid growing up, and pretty soft-spoken. So that was a big personal growth level for me. Yeah. So as for the trade, kind of get reamed out a little bit, discredited a little bit. And then, I did say I was going to Traverse City, and he acted like he was a little surprised with that, but I knew he knew. And I thought that would help, and it did. And luckily, when I got back from Traverse City, preseason was still going on, and there was some shopping going around, and luckily enough, Oshawa took a stab at me, and oh man, like I said, I loved it so much there. Like, I remember meeting the owner on day one, and he was awesome to me, very, very open arms, just a really awesome human being, awesome family. Getting to meet the coaching staff with a little bit different approach. Trainers were top notch. And the facility was great, and it was an attractive place to go because they had John Tavares on the team, which was obviously projected to go number one. He was a very highly touted kid since he was like 12 years old. So he beat Gretzky's record at the age of 15 as an underager. I think he scored 72 goals his first year as an underager in the OHL, or like a exceptional status. So I think he was like 14 or 15. So a lot of guys would request a trade because of the exposure that they knew all the NHL scouts would be watching him. And Oshawa was going through new ownership at the time. They got a new rink. It was a great time to get traded there.
What'd you get traded for?
Oh man, it was a late pick. It was a bag of pucks and a late pick, I'm sure. So I can't remember, man. It was I was a 7th round pick, and in the OHL, I want to say it was probably something similar or later. That'd be fun to look up. I don't know.
All right, so now it's year 3. You're in Oshawa. Mm-hmm. Man, what was that like?
I was pretty nervous, but again, super excited. And I remember driving there. I remember getting phone calls from the GM, the coach, the owner, the trainer. That's always fun. Hey, talking about your specs and what kind of sticks you're using, what kind of all that stuff. And but I remember just getting there, and when I arrived there, I remember a game was going on, and some of the injured guys and healthy scratches. I got to be introduced to them. The GM left me tickets, so. Kind of told me who to contact when I got there or whatnot, and dropped my gear off and got to watch the games, and getting to know some of those guys were very open arms. Like, they right away just made me a part of the team. Hey, how are you doing? Asked a lot of questions. Hey, after the game we might go to here. Like, why don't you come meet the guys? Like, so just I was lucky for that. Like, I really enjoyed that, so that was great.
That's awesome. And so John Tavares was on the team. Anybody else we know?
Let's see. That year, Michael Delzato, he was a big draft pick. That year, he was a New York Ranger pick at the time. There were some older guys that were drafted.
Let's go back to year 2. Did you play with Patty Kane that year?
That was my first year.
That was your first year.
The second year was like, let's see, Maroon.
Oh, you played with Maroon?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
He went up there after the Bandits year. So him and I drove up together the second year. And Maroon. There's Steve Mason, the goalie, that was really good. Kostitsin left, Gagne left, Kane left that second year. They all made the jump. And then who else was in London that? Oh man, out to Hockey DB it. But I'm missing a couple guys that. I remember when I got swapped. Nazem Kadri was there. Man. That was year 2.
Mm-hmm.
Year 3, that's when they brought in Carlson. Nas was there. They brought in Zach Ronaldo, who was like a scary tough guy back then. I didn't get to interact with him too much. I think I was already out of there. I think they brought in another goalie who made it. I can't remember his name.
Nice.
So
now let's go back to Oshawa. So it's year 3.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you land in the lineup?
They threw me in. I think the first game I was 5 or 6, and then I just climbed my way up from there. They put me with my one D partner. His name was Calvin DeHaan. He ended up being a first-round pick that year. So him and I had a lot of synergy together. He was a lefty. I was a righty. We just seemed to really connect on and off the ice. So we ended up going, I say like a couple weeks in, got to be in that 3-4 spot. That they made that second role. They had some older guys. I think that first year I was there that were that 1 and 2, and I think Calvin and I were 3 and 4 by middle of this year, which was great because then you're getting in every game.
Of your 5 years in the O, what was your favorite year?
That year 4.
Okay, so the next year.
That's where that when I got drafted or when I got traded. I'm sorry. When I got traded there, that's when I got that confidence that I was like, man, I can actually play in this league. And I started believing in myself and just getting that opportunity. Year 4 was like, okay, like I'm starting to believe in myself. I went to another camp. Like now I want to sign an NHL contract. So at the end of year 3 for me, Oshawa was still – we didn't make the playoffs. So, like, part of the reason I wanted to get traded, I requested to go to a team that was ranked lower so that I would get more exposure to play. Now, guys, just like in the NHL, at the trade deadline, you'll see teams that are going to make a run for that championship, which is the Memorial Cup. They want to load up on the top guys. So in Oshawa, with John Tavares being the first overall pick, Michael Delzato was everyone knew most likely he was signed to an NHL contract, so he was probably going to go pro the following year. And with Oshawa being in a little bit of a rebuild, they traded those two guys to London. And we got back a ton of stuff, of course, for those two guys. But I remember that day, it was like a morgue in Oshawa because those two meant so much to the city and the club or whatnot. But as sad as it was to see them go, I was in the sidelines jumping up and down with pure joy because I knew that now I might be able to get power play time. Now I'm going to get a bigger role on this team. And what a great situation to be in. Like now now here's my chance. So that day I remember that, and I think at that time we only had, because we didn't make the playoffs, so I want to say we only had maybe 20 games left or something like that within the season. And I did get in power play time. And I remember at the end of that season, man, I put up some decent numbers. And then rolling in the summer, I was just like, okay, like next year, like is gonna need to be like, it's kind of like a do or die for me in a way, in my opinion.
So that was year 3 going into year 4.
Yes. So again, I didn't get drafted that year.
Were you surprised?
No, because I thought you only get drafted at 18. So, but I was like, all right, well, let's see. Like I remember I remember my agent kind of saying that a couple teams had interest in me just attending their camp. But then again, I remember Al telling me, or Basil told me, within St. Louis, that a couple of their scouts saw me and did see some interest. So I did get invited back to the Blues again. And of course, being a hometown guy, that was always like the place where you want to land and be able to maybe sign a contract. And, having my best friend sign a contract there was like, it's just, I wanted to do that. So again, attended the rookie camp, attending the Traverse City camp again. Now I start having that swag, if you will, or whatnot. And then, my best friend on the team at the time was Calvin, my D partner, Calvin DeHaan. And he was like up in the NHL. Like they wanted to keep him. Wasn't the biggest or the strongest when they drafted him. They drafted him, John number 1 and Calvin, I think he went 12th. They traded up for him. And as an 18-year-old, they had a rule where if you played 10 games, they would have to keep you for the whole year. So he got to his 9th game. I believe they wanted to take him, but him and his agent thought it would be best for his development to come back. And he did, and that's a risky deal there, and you're leaving a lot of money on the table, but it was best for him. He made a really good decision. And then he went to World Juniors, and he ended up leaving that the year after. But during that year, when he was gone, then I got even more of a role. And they put me with somebody else. And I was kind of getting older. I was bigger, stronger than most guys coming in because I was 18, 19. I was 19 at the time. So, you're playing with 16, 17, 18-year-olds. Like, you should be able to have that advantage. And I remember that start of that year. It's funny, we talk about goal setting. I remember talking with my billets, and they're always, again, they treat you like family. So like they always wanted the best for you. And I remember I have a kind of a core memory, if you will, of my billet dad coming to me. He's like, all right, Tony, like you're going to think I'm crazy, but 50 points this year. And I laughed in his face. And I'm like, dude, you're crazy. You know what I mean? But I started thinking more about it, let it marinate a little bit. And I'm like, okay, let's do it. And I remember I had a really hot start. I remember in that first 10 games, I might have been almost like leading the OHL for defensemen in points, and I was just really hot, and I was ultra confident, and just everything was going my way. And then I slowed up a little bit, and but again, it's funny, man. Like you set those little goals, you chip away at them game by game, and I ended up having like 50 points. I had 10 fights. And that was like my big breakout year. I got to play in the OHL All-Star game, which was a huge honor for me. If you saw the names on that sheet, I mean, it was some very high caliber guys and guys that are still playing today. And that was awesome for me.
Name a couple.
That year you had, Ryan O'Reilly was there, Alex Pietrangelo, you had Grubauer as a goalie. You had Ryan Ellis was a big guy. Cam Fowler. You had Smith Pelly was there. Casey Zizekas.
That's awesome.
You had Taylor Hall. There was some big guys there. I'm probably leaving a lot off. Like I said, you had Tyler Toffoli. Erica Branson. There was a lot of high caliber guys there that are still playing that have had awesome careers in the NHL.
What's the OHL All-Star game like? It's
just fun. You know what I mean? Like you get there. They had a skills comp. I got to participate in the hardest shot, which was awesome. That was fun. I think I shot 91 at that time.
Who won?
I think it was Ryan Ellis. Ryan Ellis was a small guy, but he had an absolute cannon. He played for the Windsor Spitfires.
Do you remember what he shot?
I don't.
What would you guess? Like, if you shot 91, what do you think won it?
He was only 17 at the time. I want to say he was in the mid-90s. I don't think anyone broke 100 that year. You look at the technology of sticks and whatnot, what they are today, he probably would have been. Who else had a hard shot? There was a guy with the last name Crawford that had a really big bomb. We know Matt Lashoff, his brother had a big bomb. He was there. But I think it was Ryan Ellis.
How fun.
Yeah.
It's hard to wrap 5 years of the OHL experience into just 3 episodes. Mm-hmm. So let's jump just very quickly to Stride Celly, your off-ice training facility. Yeah. You've got some amazing equipment there. You've got a resume that everybody in St. Louis should know and see and be a part of. So when parents are looking at kids' development, whether it's a mini-mite or even a midget, what do you recommend?
I think you look at what's best for your player, what that looks like. And it really comes down, I really think coaching is a really big part of it. I think you look at what key values that coach brings. And again, I think the biggest thing for me is what the culture is about. If you get the right parents, I understand the game it's only getting more expensive. So people are they are paying for a product. Now, there's a lot of parents that don't fully understand the game, so I think they get a little bit wrapped up around the wins versus the development side. So, but if I still think earlier on you want to have your kid around the right kids, like-minded kids. You want to have good kids, good families, driven kids. I mean, if you're at that AAA or AA level. You're looking for the kids that have a motor but also want to learn up top. And I think that's all levels, really. You want to surround yourself with the best kids, best families. And, for me, I don't know, I look at my path and journey, right? Like, it's like, yeah, there might be years where you might want your kid to just climb on a team if he's trying to advance up. And you kind of maybe start by accepting the role of you're not the guy yet, but as you keep moving those tiers, you just have to adapt. I don't know if that answers your question or not.
No, it does for sure. It's such a broad question too, because you have AAA all the way down to C3. Mm-hmm. You got mini mites all the way to midgets. I mean, that's a wide range of. I think that you have the variable of puberty where everything changes again with development.
Oh, big time.
And so, how much of it is push without burnout, and how much of it is fun? Let's have fun all the time, but let's make sure we're developing too.
There's a lot of that, and it's just there's no secret sauce to that. I think that's really. I mean, you want your kid to have the drive. I think it's good to work on those fundamentals. I believe you should take a break for at least a month. I know with the world that we live in today, it's very challenging and hard because there's just so much stuff going on. And the kids do love it, and everyone's doing all this extra stuff or whatnot. But, I just where
do you think the most development takes place? Do you think it's outside of the ice rink doing off-ice training and strength building? Do you think it's on ice in practices, or do you think it's overall experiences in games? Do you want more games to be played, or do you develop more in practice? What's your take on that?
I do believe a lot of it is practice, but there is something to be said where you do have guys that just typically are practice players to oppose to the gamers. So you do need that balance. That is a really tough question. You almost want to be kind of in a perfect storm where you got maybe your personal training, maybe those are the one-on-one group sessions or whatnot. Then you have your practices, which is a team
team development standpoint. And then, the game is also the team, but you also want to have your personal success as well.
Love it. And in kind of closing out this episode, you talked a lot about goal setting.
Mm-hmm.
What's your goal for Stride and Celly?
My goal is just to be able to have a fun, awesome experience and environment for all kids and all different skill levels to want to come in and strive for the same goal. And that goal is just to get better each and every day.